Today. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have Vivek Ramaswamy saying you can't report or reform the FBI and goes viral on X Twitter. Now, he actually gives a breakdown of all the reassignments, and he did say that before, so I'm just going to summarize the very first part. And he says, quote, you can't reform the FBI. Quote, reform is a myth. The correct answer is shut it down. The FBI has 35,842 person staff. 56% of the Bureau that are professional bureaucrats should be fired immediately. Just 44% of the FBI employees are special agents and intelligence analysts. These 15,770 specialists should be reassigned to serve under the narrow focus of other federal law enforcement agencies doing the same specialist work, unquote. And let's see here. Do a couple of the breakdown. He says reassignments will include the U.S. Marshal Service getting 821 specialist analysts transferred to the Crimes Against Children. The Department of Defense should get Counterintelligence Defense Intelligence Agency 4,159 specialists and analysts transferred. And he breaks it down pretty much all the way. And interesting enough, even though he has officially dropped out, that still got 2.5 million views in 48 hours when I wrote down these statistics a couple days ago. And it got 52,000 likes. So even though he's not officially running anymore, a lot of people speculating, will he be VP? I mean, who knows? Will he get some type of appointment in maybe a cabinet position if Trump does win? There's a lot of speculation, but it is fascinating to see as other candidates drop out, like Chris Christie, who he did have a small social media profile interaction to begin with, but even as Vivek has dropped out, he's still overwhelmingly viral, as the kids might say, getting all these views and all these likes. And it also has 2.5 thousand comments, which is astronomical to say the least. And again, I think a lot of people are seeing there are many parts, not all, well, some might debate, but there are many parts in the government that do overlap and a lot of responsibilities that do crisscross. And some might argue, there's certainly a lot of redundancy there, and there's a lot of fat to trim, so to say. But let's dive in the comments and see, am I alone in this particular take? Let's dive and find out. The first comment comes from A Music, says, quote, yes, we need to shut down. The FBI is completely corrupt, unquote. And it is a GIF of Leonardo DiCaprio and Django Unchained carrying, or what does he call it? He's holding a little thing of whiskey, some type of beverage. And the text on the image says, quote, they wouldn't be so worried about Trump if Biden really got 81 million votes, unquote. That got 1.3 thousand likes. Let's see here. Dave Benner responded with a clip of Ron Paul, and he says, quote, yes, Ron Paul knew the FBI needed to shut down in 1988, unquote, getting 2,000 likes. Let's see. Elijah Bloom says, quote, you still think Vivek can be bought? He has not wavered on his stance, has the FBI stance, despite Trump's, quote, build them a better building, unquote. This is awesome, unquote. I got 1.4 thousand likes. Let's see here. New Glory says 85 says, quote, 85% seems like a practical number, unquote. And is a picture of a bunch of men with banker boxes, and it says deep state fired, unquote, getting 549 likes. Aaron X1 says, quote, Trump should appoint Elon Musk to clean up the government agencies like he did with Twitter, which runs now better with 70% less employees, unquote. They got 774 likes, and it's perhaps one of the best examples of cutting fat from a company. Twitter has a fraction of the former employee headcount, yet the interaction with the product is about the same or arguably better. I would argue better because of the decrease in amount of censorship, which has increased, I think, a lot of the user count in that regard and interaction, so that the actual screen time and usage of the product is increased. But yeah, that's a great example of trimming the fat and still having a great product for the end users. Let's see, we'll do one or two more here. Sewell Train says, quote, since its funding, the FBI has been a weaponized form of liberty reduction. The organization is rotten to the core, unquote, getting 353 likes. Let's see, one or two more. Malcolm Flex says, quote, I really like the idea of folding the field staff office into the state marshal's offices to prevent laying off unnecessary staff. And when you look at how little the intelligence analysts accomplish, I don't think we're taking much of a hit except for entrapment operations, unquote, getting 445 likes. Let's see here. Ragnarok looks like some type of sci-fi creature. But nevertheless, this alleged sci-fi creature says, quote, the FBI was made to protect the American people. Now they do the opposite. It does need a reform / steered into the right direction. The inherent goal for setting up the FBI wasn't evil, unquote. And debatable. That got 61 likes. Do one more here. First one, or another one, comes from Danger Disinformation. It says, quote, there is a culture in the FBI that is unable to be rehabilitated. It is a culture that starts at the FBI Academy and is continued throughout an employee's career. It is sort of like the military, but much more ideological and much more dangerous in terms of politicization and bias, unquote. I got 46 likes. So, interesting enough, he continues, as you might say, to become more and more viral and come up with these ideas that are more and more getting more and more, I think, mass support. And interestingly enough, unlike a lot of politicians, I guess in this case we could call him an aspirational politician or a former candidate, but he's one of the few people who actually break down his ideas in terms of how you would accomplish them, which I think is one of the reasons why so many people were attracted to his type of rhetoric and his ideals and just him in general, because unlike most of the other politicians, he actually says, yes, we should do X, and it's going to require steps 1, 2, 3. Whereas many people, the cliche is old as time, Republicans and Democrats, you'd have it on the debate stage, they just go, we need to get people back to work. It's like, great. Will you tell us how to do that? We need to cut taxes. Great. Will you tell us how to do that? Well, no. Well, be general. No. So I think that's probably one of his greatest assets is how he continues to spell things out, so to say. And I think a lot of people are speculating, and I tend to agree with this assessment, that I think we're just getting to see the start of what could be his long-term career in politics. And I think it'll be interesting to see what role he plays at the end of the day, but I suspect it'll be a significant one. But, as I always say, time shall tell. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of January, so if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up or a thumbs down and comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.